All right, so to explain why weapons didn't work for me and how it lost me immediately, I'm going to go into a little bit of a spoiler, not really into the plot structure, but in how the movie itself is constructed. So not plot points for now, but how the movie itself is presented and constructed. So to lose me, one of the fastest ways is to do exposition dump. And that's how the movie begins. It begins with a little girl narrator doing an exposition dump, explaining everything that would have been so much more interesting to watch. We skip all this cool stuff. It's just told to you. We don't have any of the mystery. You would think this movie would start 2:16, suddenly 2:17. You see the kids get up and they run because that's what the movie's talking about. All these kids left, all 17 kids left, right? Well, we start by saying all the kids left except one. There's one kid remaining. And like, okay, well, buried the lead a little bit in the trailer, but like this could still be interesting if it wasn't told to me through an exposition dump. So as she's talking, like the little girl narrator is telling us that 17 of the 18 kids all disappeared at 2:17 and the police looked for them. They had canine units, they had all this, they had all that. They could not find them, and it's been 30 days. So they do, like, it's time to open the school now because the school's been closed. This is all the exposition prologue, right? And so they're saying now that 30 days is over, they're going to reopen the school, and it's what? Now this is where the true story begins. So I already hate this. I hate this exposition dump prologue. We don't get to see the events as they unfold. We don't get to live in any tension. The narrator tells us like, oh, the children were never found. So already you're like, okay, well, is this an unreliable narrator? Are they trying to set the stage for something? It doesn't matter because we're not witnessing the events unfold. We're being told how they happened. So then we get into my second least favorite thing about the movie, aside from that prologue. I hated that. We introduce Julia Garner's character, right? But we do it with a title screen. So there's a title screen for her character. And this is going to follow through one of my biggest complaints about the movie, like I was saying. Every character gets like a Rashomon style vignette. So you have to piece together certain events. When are they happening in the timeline? When is this character's actions happening here? How does this character get to this point, right? But by following a singular character. So it's on you, the audience, to follow the timeline clearly, which is fine, except when the movie makes a few mistakes with their timeline. I won't go into spoilers, but I will say there's a couple day-night cycle things that are left a little wonky and feel out of time and out of place. The other issue with this, and not just in terms of like a narrative timeline, is that as you go through the character, like the Rashomon style arcs, once you start getting traction with one character, the movie's like, ooh, we can't reveal too much of our mystery, so you cut to another character. And that's very frustrating because all your tension's gone. This movie cannot hold tension to save its life. There's some really cool cinematography in it. I mean, whoever was behind the lens really did the best they could to keep you engaged. But every time you jump to another character, you're resetting tension, resetting stakes. And it just doesn't work. There are some characters in here, and I won't say who, but you'll know it when you're watching it because you'll be like, this character better have a big payoff because if I'm spending this much time with them, and whether you think they do or not is up to you, but I'm going to tell you, I don't think so. I think we needed less characters, a shorter runtime. You already have your most interesting characters in Julia Garner and in Josh Brolin, right? They're the interesting characters. They're front and center on your advertising. Their stuff is good enough, right? It's a good enough anchor. I don't need to go back and forth between multiple characters, seeing how because it's not even like how this impacts the community, right? Because that could be really an interesting story. Like it's 30 days after a tragedy with no answers. How does the community move on? Well, this movie treats the 30-day timeline as if it happened only a couple days ago. So it doesn't even stick to like, oh man, we're starting to like move beyond tragedy. They treat everything as if it just happened the other day. And the only reason I can think of to even say that there was a 30-day time jump is because the writers and directors didn't want to get bogged down with having to do like the police procedural stuff, like having to show people come in for the interview, having to show them go like house to house looking for the kids, or going into the woods or investigating even further and deeper. They didn't want to show any of that. So by doing a 30-day time jump, they're like, we'll just ignore the parts. We'll say it happened in the past. People are, like it's already been handled, which is just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense too, because the way like the plot ends up progressing, some of the stuff is like, this is a no brainer. There's one plot point, and again, I won't spoil it, but you're going to be like, are you serious? The whole movie hinges on this one plot point, and you mean to tell me that in the 30-day window, not one detective, not one member of the FBI, no one did what Josh Brolin did, sort of on like instinct on a whim? It's friggin' nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So you're constantly juggling your characters and timeline for the first part of the movie until you get to the end of the movie. And then the end of the movie, whether you find it satisfying or not, is up to you. But I was already checked out. I had felt like I was in that theater for hours and hours and hours. And I just did not care for the movie. All right. So I kind of dipped my toe a little bit into the spoiler territory talking about something Josh Brolin does. So I will say I'm going to talk about that one event right now. It is a minor spoiler. I will not get into the bigger mystery of this thing. But I do want to talk about how Josh Brolin essentially solves this and why it makes some other characters in the movie completely unnecessary. So minor spoilers, nothing big spoiler, but minor spoilers moving forward. Okay. So Josh Brolin notices that his kid runs in a certain direction, but out of the ring cam, right? And he just starts looking and using like line of sight. And he's like, all right, so if my kid's here and we know he ran this way, I'm going to make a couple dots on the map and I'm going to draw a straight line across with my ruler. And he's like, so my kid probably went in that direction. And he's like, other kids in the community, their parents have ring cams too. So he goes and asks one of them if he can see their ring cam. The wife initially says no, but then her husband, Justin Long, cameo, because these two work together. Craig and they work together in Barbarian, which is also a flawed film. But that's neither here nor there. So they take a look at it. He maps it out. He draws a straight line, right, using his grid. So he crosses the two angles, assuming that the kids are running in a straight line. The angles intersect. He draws an arbitrary radius around where they could be. And he's like, I don't know, they could be someone here. They could be anywhere in this area, possibly, or they were headed in this area, possibly. Well, you know what's in that area? The sole surviving kid's house. Nobody looked at the map of where the kids were going and thought, maybe we should go investigate a little deeper into that kid's house, because they investigate him just because he's a survivor. It has nothing to do with evidence. It has nothing to do with any of that. Now, the movie does have, to its credit, a pretty good reason why they would find nothing at the house. I don't want to take it away from that. But the reason they went there was because they wanted to see how the kid was living. It wasn't based on anything investigative. And I find that to be kind of an issue when it's like, it would be okay if this was like the first like week, right? And everybody's like, well, we investigated the premise. It's fine. But like wherever they are is probably in the vicinity. But then because the end of the movie needs to happen, like Josh Brolin and Julia Garner, they happen to show up at just the right time for the big finale events to happen. It's just so dumb. And there's like these characters who are just completely unnecessary. And that's like, they're only there to help flesh out the finale. And I just could not stand it. It is not my favorite movie. So it is frustrating because it does seem like they tried to cover their bases a little bit. But man, when you're in the theater for what it felt like to me like 3 hours, I did not enjoy it. I don't like the exposition narration. If they're going to do the Rashomon thing out of like the stories out of time with the character arcs, you've got to keep tension. You've got to keep me invested. There are too many characters in this movie, so you lose interest. They don't know whether or not they want to be kind of like a Stephen King-esque like story, or whether or not they just want to leave it more mysterious. And I don't know. I just found the whole movie to be wildly unsatisfying. So anyways, did you see Weapons? What do you guys think? Am I being a little bit much on this? I was really bored and I was really looking forward to this. So I'm really disappointed in this movie. I really just don't recommend it.